Okay, so in today's video, we're going to be looking at how to do the lap joint, the toy boat, and the sling today. This will finish up our week 2 parts, getting into week 3 and then week 4 following. All right, and here we go. We already are on the creation side of the lap joint. So we're going to pull that up and check out that PDF so I have that ready to go. And then we're going to start our demo. Okay, so like I said before in class, what we're going to be looking at doing is I'm going to start utilizing as many of the shortcuts as I can. I'll voice what I'm doing, but it's at this point we want to start adapting into those shortcuts. Okay, so for the lap joint, I'm going to hit Shift S for our sketch. I'm going to select this front plane right here. Okay, I'm going to right click and go normal to the sketch plane. And now I'm ready to draw. I'm going to turn off the rest of my sketch planes though, because right now I already have my sketch one. Okay, and like I've been saying in class, we want to make sure that we are actually going to be using drawing from our main points. Okay, we're going to be drawing that outside shape first, not worrying too much about size yet. Okay, but we're just going to get that outside shape drawn first. Okay, I got that outside shape done. Now I'm going to hit D for dimension, and I'm going to start applying what those dimensions are. Okay, so we have an overall height over here of 1.5, and we have a distance right here of 2. We have another height over here of 0.75. And you can see that based off of those dimensions, the inclusion of this midpoint means that this is also 2 over here, and we do not need to define it. We can click and place it. It's going to give us what's known as a reference dimension, a darker gray dimension. So that's what we're going to work with right there. Okay, we're going to hit Shift E, which is going to bring us to our extrusion. We're going to extrude it out based off of that top dimension of 1.25. Hit enter twice. Okay, we're going to associate ourselves back and hit our hamburger icon, go to print, and we're going to fill up that page as much as we can. Okay, and then hit that download image and submit that to our assignment. All right, so here we go into the toy boat. The toy boat is a little bit more of a challenge for us. We see that we have a line drawn out at an angle, and the angle's not given to us. So that's a little bit harder for us to decipher within the beginning parts of it. Okay, but right now what we're going to be looking at and going through is the toy boat. So we're going to start with this as a Shift S, and what we're going to be doing is we're actually not going to be selecting that front plane. We're going to be selecting the top plane right here. We're going to build this kind of from the bottom up instead of from the side out. Okay, so I'm going to turn off my planes now that I have my sketch plane drawn. I'm going to right click and go View Normal to. Okay, and like I've said before, is we're going to draw out the profile first and then apply the dimensions. Okay, so I'm going to go, now you'll see up here, line has L for it. We have the rectangle up here, and there's 2 different ones right here. This one, we're going to supply the R, which is going to be a center point rectangle, meaning that we define the center point, and then we define one of the outer points that gives us our length and width. So we're going to select that center point right there. We're just going to draw that out. I'm going to go and select line. I'm going to draw this out at an angle, but hover over that midpoint right there. We're going to draw that out and then draw that back in. Okay. Now we don't want to delete this line anymore because we have that midpoint supplied. And what that's going to do is that's going to help us to fully define our object. Okay. So we're going to hit D for dimension. Okay. Okay. And we're going to supply this. This is too wide back here. You'll see it kind of stretch out a little bit. Okay. This is 4 long. And then we see this over here. This is also 2. Just going to pull that point back in. That's a little bit better for us to do. Okay. We're going to hit our Shift E in order to create that. you'll see that it pulls both of the enclosures for us. Okay, we're going to pull this up the height of 0.75 found in that side view, that right side view. Okay. Now we're going to right click on that front. Oh, and we're going to go view normal to, and it's going to pull us back around to it. We're going to hit Shift S to do our sketch. I'm going to select that top part of that rectangle right there. Okay. Now this next one, instead of doing the center point rectangle, we're going to hit G and just do a rectangle over the top. And the reason for that is we got to supply some specific dimensions that are not related to this center point. Okay, this origin point right here, it's not centrally located, so we can't use that center point rectangle. We still could, okay? We still could do that. We could supply it, but make sure it's off of that origin point, okay, if you do that center point rectangle, okay? So either of those would work. We just need to make sure that it's off that origin point, okay? We're going to hit that dimension and start working on this right now. We know that this is 0.5 away from both the sides, so 0.5. And by doing that center point, it's actually going to help us a little bit, and it's going to make it to where this is also already 0.5 away. Okay, remember those are just reference dimensions. They don't actually hold any value for us at all. We're going to shorten this down just a little bit. Make sure we don't land up on that origin point. Okay. We're going to hit dimension, and from the distance from this back over here to that line right there is 0.75. Okay, so we're going to pull that in a little bit. And then from this distance from right here is 0.25. Okay, so you can see where I pulled that distance right there, pulled it from that center of that line over here. Okay. That looks great for our dimensions so far. Yeah, so now we're ready to go. We're going to hit Shift E and extrude that. You see that it's already selected it. All right, so the last part for today is going to be that sling that we're going to get rolled into. All right, so let's look at the sling. So the sling is going to be kind of a weird object that we need to make. It's first going to be looking at it. We're going to make it as a whole and then cut through that center. So let's go ahead and start our sketch with Shift S. We're going to look at this front view right here. Right click and go view normal to. And then we're going to start with our line. We're going to draw out. I guess we could have done a rectangle too. But remember, we're just getting the outside shape. We're going to do C for circle. Connect that out there. So when we actually dimension this bottom line down here, what that's going to do is that's going to tie it also to the circle arc up there. We can trim away this side. Okay, and then we're going to hit D and go for these dimensions. Okay, so this first dimension right here, we know this is 2 wide. Okay. And we know that this line length right here is 3.5. Okay. And you'll see for the most part, that's all that we needed. We still do need our circle for this center point right here and for our cutout. Okay. We can define that already with this, which is great and awesome for us to be able to do. So we're going to set that at a diameter of 1.25. And you see that it's set there because we already have an existing center point right there. We don't need the horizontal locations for it either. It's pulling that based off of that center point of the existing circle. Okay, we're going to hit Shift E to extrude. We're going to check to make sure that it is extruding the parts that we want it to extrude. You'll notice we don't have the cut on the side yet. That's going to come in just a bit. So we're looking at this right here. We need to know the height of it, which we're looking at the top view for that. And that overall height is 1.5. We're going to hit enter, enter. And now we're going to go through and turn off the planes of this so we can see our object more. Okay, we're going to go hit Shift S and select this side panel right here, and we're going to go view normal to. We're going to rotate around to that. We're going to hit R for our center point rectangle. We're actually going to line up with this midpoint, and the reason why is we're able to set one side of the dimension over here which will allow us to then also mirror it over here. So as long as that's vertically in line. So we're going to hit D for dimension. We're going to add in this bottom dimension down here at 0.25. We're going to add this vertical dimension right here also at 0.25. You can see that for the most part, it is that distanced overall. We could add the distance for this over here. We also should be able to do a concentric point right there. And we can add those to be a, not concentric, coincident point to line up right there. Okay. That's not necessarily needed as long as this line is further out than our object as a whole. That should be fine. Okay. We're going to go Shift E again for that extrusion. You'll see that it's coming off the side. We're going to go change that extrusion to remove. And we're going to go probably up to next. And it should find the next whole face that it's running into. Remember, curved faces on inside most 3D design softwares aren't clickable. So we should be good there. We had our green check and we are ready to rock and roll, as there is our sling finished and ready to go. Remember to hit that hamburger menu, hit print, and make sure that your object is fully in it. You can see that it's cut off down below. So we're going to scroll back a little bit and make sure that our object's in there. Hit download image and upload that to our classroom.